Experts forecast it will directly impact Busan with a maximum speed of up to 43 meters per second. The government is putting in all efforts to minimize potential typhoon damage. President Yoon called for frequent inspections in areas close to shorelines and check on vulnerable residents. The South Korean currency hit another low against the greenback. Current account surplus could continue to shrink due to the deteriorating trade balance caused by rising energy prices and slowing global demand. Seoul's finance chief vows to closely monitor the situation. Hello and welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let's begin with our top story. Weather warnings are issued across South Korea as the country braces for potentially the strongest typhoon to ever hit the peninsula, Hinnamnor. According to the local weather agency, it's forecast to make landfall here in the early hours of Tuesday. Lee Si-woo starts us off.
Typhoon Hinnamnor is approaching the Korean peninsula. As of 6 in the evening on Monday, the typhoon was about 180 kilometers southwest of Jeju Island's Seogwipo City and is moving northward. By midnight, it's expected to be about 60 kilometers east of the island, moving at a speed of 34 kilometers an hour toward southern Gyeongsangnam-do province. The typhoon's expected to hit the region on Tuesday morning and directly impact the city of Busan with a maximum wind speed of up to 43 meters per second or around 155 kilometers per hour and the central pressure of 950 hectopascals, potentially making it the strongest typhoon ever to hit South Korea. Amid these conditions, the Korea Meteorological Administration issued a typhoon warning on Monday morning. The warning applies to both offshore and inland regions of Jeju, as well as most of South Korea's southern regions. Heavy rain warnings have also been issued for the capital region, as well as Gangwon-do and Chungcheongnam-do provinces. A heavy wind warning is in effect for some parts of the Gyeongsangnam-do and Chungcheongnam-do provinces, where strong winds with a maximum speed of 25 meters per second or more are blowing. The nation will see heavy rainfall through Tuesday. The KMA predicts up to 600 millimeters of rain on mountainous parts of Jeju and 100 to 300 millimeters for the rest of the nation. The KMA warns of particularly heavy rain, strong winds, and waves to hit coastal regions, so those near the coast should stay away from the shore. Lee Si-woo, Arirang News.
South Korea is implementing various measures to minimize typhoon damage. All flights to and from Jeju from Monday afternoon are canceled. The resort island was the first area of the country to be pounded with heavy rainfall and strong winds. Hundreds of planes will be grounded until the typhoon moves out of Gyeongsangnam-do province region from Tuesday afternoon. 10 of the 14 ferry routes connecting the country's island from Incheon are closed off due to strong waves. The Ministry of Employment and Labor recommends companies adjust office hours and encourage employees to work from home. Seoul's Office of Education is implementing a day off at all kindergartens, elementary and middle schools in the capital. President Yoon Suk-yeol and his aides remain on emergency standby. They will stay that way through tonight and tomorrow as Hinnamnor approaches the nation with strong winds and heavy rain already hitting southern regions.
As Typhoon Hinnamnor is expected to hit the peninsula early Tuesday morning, the president will stay at the office until tomorrow and receive a comprehensive report on what the situation's like. He will also begin inspections to protect the lives and safety of the people.
The South Korean leader asked civil servants and the public to work in solidarity against the typhoon and the media to keep the public updated on weather developments. During a meeting held on Monday evening, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo reiterated the importance of all ministries and local governments working together to minimize typhoon damage. He also asked the general public to abide by government safety regulations and remain home if possible. Concerns mount as we've already seen the trail of destruction left behind by Hinnamnor in neighboring countries. Authorities brace for the typhoon with all hands on deck to minimize the scale of damage. Shin Yeon sheds light on some important protection measures.
The strongest tropical typhoon in 2022 is heading toward South Korea after wreaking havoc in parts of Japan. One tweeter from Japan uploaded pictures of just how much damage the typhoon had caused and warned Koreans to never leave their houses. The tweet also reads the typhoon was packed with winds of up to 57.5 meters per second when it hit Japan and tore down corrugated steel panels off buildings. Trucks also flipped over. The Korea Meteorological Administration forecast Hinnamnor to pack winds of up to 60 meters per second near Jeju Island in Korea, which is why extra precaution is needed. So how can we best prepare ourselves to minimize damage from the typhoon? For starters, experts recommend the public to shield off windows from breaking. This by squeezing cardboard or thick paper in between window frames. If you don't have any cardboard on hand, you can also use used milk cartons. It's also recommended that people tape the frames of their windows with duct tape. You also want to beware of flooding. To prevent water levels from rising, we want to make sure to pick up trash near sewers and drains so that rain can easily go down. Sandbags and boards should be installed at underground parking lots and underground homes, also known as panjiha in Korea. When walking outside, refrain from walking near manholes. There's a high chance that these manhole covers can soar up, hurting people nearby. It's never a good idea to drive on flooded roadways, but if you're caught unexpectedly in the middle of a trip, make sure you drive extra slowly and keep a safe distance from other vehicles. And even after the typhoon is gone, stay aware of secondary damage. If your house has been flooded, it's essential that you have your gas and electricity lines checked out by experts. Hinnamnor is expected to quickly make its way up from Jeju Island and hit the southern and eastern parts of South Korea Tuesday morning. Neighboring countries such as China is also on high alert. 신예은, Arirang News.
North Korea put itself on high alert against the typhoon as well. Seoul requested prior notice from the regime should it discharge floodwater from dams. But according to officials, it seems that's already taken place. Han Sung-woo has the details.
North Korea is ramping up emergency precautionary measures as it braces for Typhoon Hinnamnor, now fast approaching the Korean peninsula. The North's state-run Korean Central News Agency reported Monday that authorities there have inspected transport infrastructure and buildings at risk of flooding or collapse, and have ordered fishing boats to return to port. According to the regime's Korean Central Broadcasting Station, a heavy rain alert has been issued in the border city of Kaesong, the North's Gangwon-do province, and the southern areas of Hwanghae-do province, where 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall is being forecast. In a briefing on Monday, Seoul's Unification Ministry publicly called on the regime to give prior warning if it plans to discharge floodwater from dams across the border, to prevent damage to South Korean people or property downstream, something that has happened in years past. This came after the ministry sought to send a formal request during its daily phone call via an inter-Korean liaison hotline at 9 a.m., but the North didn't clarify whether it will accept it or not.
Included in the message we hope to send was a wish for the two Koreas to cooperate with each other and overcome the current crisis without much damage sustained.
But according to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, it appears the regime has already discharged water from Hwang River Dam to adjust water levels before the typhoon hits at full scale. Spokesperson Kim Jun-rak told reporters Monday that military officials are closely monitoring the situation while sharing information with related authorities, and that water levels at the dam are not concerning at the moment. Han Sung-woo, Arirang News.
The South Korean currency hit another low against the greenback on Monday as it hit the 1,371 mark for the first time in more than a decade. The won closed trading on Monday at 1,371.4, up about 8.81 from the previous session. This is the weakest rate in 13 years and 5 months since the Korean currency topped 1,392 won in April 2009 in the aftermath of the global financial crisis. The won continues to weaken amid forecasts that the Fed will maintain its hawkish stance on monetary policies, further strengthening the U.S. dollar. The nation's finance chief says current account surplus could continue to shrink due to the deteriorating trade balance caused by rising energy prices and slowing global demand. With the $1 exchange rate hitting 13-year highs, he vows to closely monitor the local market and take stabilization measures if necessary. Ji-young helps us look beyond the digits.
South Korea's trade balance may worsen even further in the coming months. Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho said on Monday during a meeting of top economic and finance officials that the current account balance is expected to show volatility for a while.
Due to the recent rise in energy prices and slowing global demand from China and other economies, the trade balance is weakening. With this, the current account surplus may contract for a while.
In August, the country recorded its biggest monthly trade deficit in history. The balance of trade last month was in the red by over $9.4 billion, the most since the trade data was first compiled in 1956. It's also the first time in 14 years that there's been a deficit for 5 months in a row. The finance minister said external factors are the cause of the weakening Korean won against the US dollar.
The US dollar is reaching 20-year highs. With this, currencies of major economies are all showing a sharp weakening, and we are no exception. Especially in August, the $1 exchange rate soared amid the worsening trade balance on top of the weakening of the Chinese currency.
The South Korean won fell last week to its lowest level against the greenback in more than 13 years, closing at around the 1361 mark as rising interest rates in the U.S. further strengthened the dollar. Chu said the government will closely monitor the foreign exchange supply in real time and take preemptive action if necessary to stabilize the local financial market. Also, the government will push to win contracts to build infrastructure abroad and strengthen export competitiveness to improve the trade balance. 엄지영, Arirang News.
Seoul's trade minister is on his way to Washington for continued talks on the Inflation Reduction Act, and Yoon will meet with his senior officials from the U.S. government and Congress, including Trade Representative Catherine Tai. The visit comes just days after a South Korean delegation flew to Washington to deliver concerns over the new law, which impacts South Korean automakers. After his 3-day stay in Washington, Minister An is due in Los Angeles on Thursday to attend a ministerial meeting on the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. The Vice Defense Chiefs of Seoul and Tokyo are scheduled to meet on Wednesday for the first time in 6 years. Shin Bum-cheol will meet his Japanese counterpart Masami Oka on the sidelines of the Seoul Defense Dialogue. They're likely to discuss bilateral conflict that worsened after a Japanese maritime patrol aircraft flew at a low altitude over a South Korean warship in late 2018. The minister recently expressed Seoul's intent to seek a comprehensive resolution on this matter. Also on the agenda, Jisomya and whether the nation will participate in Japan's International Fleet Review. Liz Truss will become the next Prime Minister of Britain. The Foreign Secretary is taking over the post at a time of economic and political upheaval in the UK. The majority of Brits tell pollsters she will be a poor or terrible PM. Some perceive her as a shape-shifting politician. A centrist Liberal Democrat in her youth before joining the Conservative Party argued for abolishing the monarchy before affirming her support for it. She voted for Britain to remain in the EU before becoming a hardcore Brexiteer. But Truss was the favorite among Tory activists who selected the leader of their party in Britain in a vote announced Monday. She won the support with promises of tax cuts and loyalty to PM Boris Johnson. Challenger Rishi Sunak was the preferred choice among Conservative members, but he had a tough time convincing voters that tackling inflation should come before tax cuts. Also, Sunak's leading role in Johnson's ousting appears to have hurt him with the grassroots, some even calling him Brutus. Squid Game makes history again by becoming the first non-English series to win an Emmy. The K-drama earned awards at the event, which honors artistic and technical achievements in TV production such as editing, costuming, and direction. Song Yoo-jin has the details.
It was a stellar night for the smash hit Korean drama Squid Game. The Netflix original became the first non-English series to win an Emmy Award, one of the television industry's most prestigious awards. It bagged 4 trophies at the 74th Creative Arts Emmy Awards held at the Los Angeles Microsoft Theater on Sunday, local time. Actress Iyumi started the 4-prize haul. She won Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series for her role as Chiyoung. The award is given to an actress who guest starred on a television drama series. The series as a whole took home 3 trophies. It clinched the Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a Single Episode award for its 7th episode, VIPs. Stunt performers Im Tae-hoon, Shim Sang-min, Kim Cha-hee, and Lee Tae-young landed the award for Outstanding Stunt Performance. The production design team added a 4th trophy of the night, Outstanding Production Design for a Narrative Contemporary Program that's 1 hour or longer. Experts say the results represent the growing competitiveness of Korean dramas.
We can say this shows that K-dramas have become mainstream in the American market. The fact that Korean dramas and movies were the 2nd most watched in the world on Netflix during the past year also proves this point.
The Creative Arts Emmys honor behind-the-scenes achievements and guest acting in TV production. It traditionally takes place 1 week before the regular primetime Emmys that acknowledge actors and directors. Squid Game earned a total of 14 nominations in 13 categories, 7 at the Creative Arts Emmys and 7 at the Primetime Emmys. The latter will also take place in LA on September 12th, where the show is expected to add more trophies to its collection.
I think Squid Game presents an amazing scenario. It includes 3 points of view, from the players, the game makers, and the detective who examines the entire situation. And the fact that the actors who played key roles have been nominated means that the Emmys have acknowledged the show's excellence. So I think Squid Game will win big next week.
The show is up for Outstanding Drama Series, Lead Actor, Supporting Actor and Actress, Writing, and Directing. 송유진, Arirang News.
In about 5 decades, nearly half of the nation's population is expected to be 65 or older. According to Statistics Korea, the proportion of this age group will likely increase to over 46% by 2070 from the current 17.5%. South Korea's total population is also projected to fall significantly to 38 million by 2070 due to low fertility rate. A sharp contrast to the world population expected to grow to 10.3 billion over the same period. The agency also highlighted that the combined population of the 2 Koreas will drop to 61 million by the year 2070, down from 78 million this year. A shipment of corn from war-torn Ukraine is coming to South Korea for the first time in 7 months. POSCO International said Monday that 61,000 tons of corn departed from Pivdeni port on August 16th and will arrive at Incheon later this month. According to the commodities traders, it will be used for feed and to help stabilize domestic prices. POSCO International is the only Korean company to own and operate a grain export terminal in Ukraine. It has been struggling to deliver shipments after Russian invasion and blockage of ports in the Black Sea. 20 million tons of grain are still currently in storage in that country. Seoul is moving to raise taxi fares, a move deemed necessary after more than 10,000 cabbies quit during 2 years into the pandemic and surge in demand that followed the end of distancing measures. The city is soliciting feedback from the public and experts before announcing a plan. Choi Min-jung has the full story.
It's past 10 p.m. on a weekday on the streets of Gangnam. People who have worked late or enjoyed dinner with colleagues are waiting on curbsides trying to grab a taxi.
Residents in Seoul are struggling to catch a cab home at night due to severe shortages of drivers. I've been out here for more than 20 minutes trying to catch one, but it's really not easy.
In Seoul, more than 10,000 drivers have quit their jobs over the past 2 years as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many have abandoned the industry for better paying jobs, like in food delivery. To tackle the shortage and in a bid to get taxi drivers back behind the wheel, the Seoul metropolitan government is pushing to increase fares for late-night taxi rides starting from as early as December. Currently, the basic charge for a taxi ride increases 20% between midnight and 4 a.m. However, the new plan will allow taxis to charge extra fees beginning 2 hours earlier. During the peak hours between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., charges will double, adding 40% of the flat rate. This means the basic charge would jump to 5,300 won from the current 4,600. Basic fares for during the day could increase by 1,000 won, possibly starting February next year. Currently, the charge for the first 2 kilometers is 3,800 won. But this could change to 4,800 for a much shorter 1.6 kilometers. While some taxi drivers welcome the news, there are others who believe the measures aren't quite enough to improve their situation.
Taxi fares need to be raised even more. They need to reflect the current inflation. Right now, we serve customers around 20 to 30 times a day. This means we will earn around 500,000 won more a month. But look at how much fuel prices have risen. This won't be enough.
Meanwhile, there have also been mixed reactions from customers.
I understand that the fare hike is inevitable, but considering how much I usually spend, I won't use taxis. It'll be burdensome.
I think it's okay because labor costs have risen lately due to inflation. Costs for food delivery have risen, so why can't that happen for taxis? If there aren't enough drivers and the fare hike attracts more of them and allows me to catch a cab more easily, I think it would be a good idea.
As complicated as this issue is, the government on Monday sought opinions from a variety of industry experts and citizens through a public hearing. The finalized plans are set to be announced after a review by the Seoul Metropolitan Council and a city price committee. Choi Min-dang, Arirang News.
Seoul's finance chief announced a new set of measures to help improve select regulations, part of efforts to boost the economy through innovation. These include installing more EV charging stations and using self-driving delivery robots in public parks. Jin Ah-young fills us in.
People using self-driving delivery robots in parks could become a common sight here in South Korea. Currently, vehicles of all kinds are prohibited from entering parks. However, with the implementation of a new law, people will be able to order food and have it delivered by an autonomous robot. This is a part of 36 regulatory innovation measures which were announced on Monday following the second meeting of Economic Regulatory Innovation Task Force. It was held by South Korea's Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho.
These 36 new measures for economic regulatory innovation will result in a total of 800 billion Korean won, or around $580 million worth of corporate investment in related industries.
Some of the other measures include more charging stations for electric vehicles being built at gas stations. There had been limits on how many charging stations were allowed in a certain area. The charging infrastructure itself can be rented out to others for profit. Previously, that was only allowed for business owners who had a special license. And delivery trucks will now be allowed to carry 2.5 tons, a 1-ton increase to improve delivery efficiency. Chu added that the government will put more effort into supporting the economy by creating systems where people can invest more under deregulation. Shin Ah-young, Arirang News.
The super typhoon Hinnamnor is maintaining its power and heading towards Jeju Island. The central atmospheric pressure is still very strong at 930 hectopascals. It is forecast to pass across the edge of Jeju Island at around 1 a.m. tomorrow. At around 6 a.m., Hinnamnor will eventually make landfall near 통영, Gyeongsangnam-do province. Some extreme downpours are expected for Jeju Island. For mountainous regions, up to 600 millimeters of heavy downpours are in the forecast. The south coast and the coastlines of Gyeongsang-do province, as well as Jisan Mountain, will see up to 400 millimeters. The rest of the country will also be battered by heavy downpours with up to 300 millimeters. Violent winds will also accompany the rain for Jeju Island and the south coast. Winds will be gusting up to 60 meters per second. This is strong enough to flip over cars. And as for the readings tomorrow, Seoul and Daejeon will be starting off at 19 degrees. Daily highs in Seoul, Gwangju, and Chuncheon will all be reaching 26 degrees. South Korea will be under the direct influence of this typhoon until tomorrow morning. By the afternoon, clear skies will make a return. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all from us. As always, thank you for watching.
The stage of global urban diplomacy will be Daejeon.